Hey guys, Kamasak here. Welcome back to Book Chat. I'm gonna apologize initially. I have some kind of eel or something in my throat at the moment. I think I'm maybe have a mild case of bronchitis or something like that. But if you can bear with me, I will talk about the book that I went through this week. I went through, well, you already saw on the title screen, Anna Kendrick's book, Scrappy Little Nobody. And the reason I chose that one is because Goodreads released like they sectioned it off by category. Like there's the best nonfiction, best fiction, etc., etc. And hers was under the best comedy. Now she didn't win that one, but I decided to choose hers because hers was second most voted on the list. The reason I didn't go with the first one is because I already did the first one. Amy Schumer's book took the top place by, I can't see it from this far away, but I think it's almost double Anna Kendrick's book, which kind of makes sense. I mean, she's a comedian. More people would want to read something by a comedian. But um, Anna Kendrick was somebody I really like. The name sounded familiar, but I haven't really seen anything she's in. Like, I know now that she's in something called Pitch Perfect, and she was in Twilight, and excuse me, among other things. But I couldn't remember where I knew the name from until I got on YouTube because I wanted to see more skits about her and or just maybe her interacting with Stephen Colbert or something like that. But I when you put her name in, I think one of the things that come up is her doing that cups video that dun, 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 dun. I can't do it. My daughter can do that. I can't do that. But it was her singing that, and I remember that from I'm pretty sure I heard that on the radio, and I've watched it a few times on YouTube because it's fairly amusing to me. So I kind of watched that. So that's originally where I heard her. I don't know if I ever watched the Twilight movies to recognize her. I think she was quite a bit younger at that point too. But yeah. Anyway, getting into the book, it's a lot of it's her life story, what she wanted to include in the book, obviously, what you might expect. The first, like, maybe the first third of the book is. It was kind of hard to grab my attention. It probably wasn't smart of me to start listening to it very, very early in the morning. But it was like it seemed like the first 2 hours or 3 hours of the audiobook. It's only a 6 hour long audiobook, so this will probably be a relatively short video. It's her talking about like all the stuff she did as a kid and like all the things she did. Like she seemed to have been prone to taking roles in Annie, and she just talks about the intense work hours that are still in line with child labor laws. But she was saying she was working like 6 days a week for God knows how many hours. I could probably barely do that today, let alone as a kid. But it, even though I'm not super interested in like all the Broadway stuff, it's still fun to just hear about it because I was actually interested in her like more as a person, just getting to know her. I mean, after the end of the book, I really like her. I think I'd end up being a fan of hers. I mean, I watched the Cups video again just before making this, and she's got a decent singing voice, and she's just got a voice you want to hear, or at least to me. But it talks about all her struggles through like even through Twilight, she was just barely getting by, and that's probably like the case. Stop saying like. That's probably the case with a lot of the actors and actresses who are just starting off. But it's really interesting to hear those stories about how many hours people are putting in, the kind of insane work they're putting in. Like she was talking about how in one of the Twilight movies, she like it was outdoors in Canada and I believe Oregon it was, and it was just people were freezing their balls off, and it was like really hard to make friends with Kristen Stewart, who was trying to be nice to her, and Kellen Lutz and all those other people that starred in Twilight. She goes into detail about Zac Efron. I That's another person I know the name, but I can't picture a face with that name. But um, she but yeah, like how her parents supported her. For example, she lived in Maine, and there was like a 6 hour car ride just for her to go do like 10-minute auditions, and her parents were fully behind her and got her, just drove her that far just to get this small, short, uh, not interview. God, why can't I think of the word? Audition, and then drive her 6 hours back, all the way back to Maine, which is, I commend them. That is something I would really have to struggle to do. I'd probably do it at the end of the day, but I do so begrudgingly, I think. She talks about a lot how her brother was a pretty big influence in her life. It seems like her brother kind of kept her grounded through the early phases of her life. Just this, like the middle section of the audiobook was a lot about, similar to Amy Schumer's book. She went into not so much detail, but a lot about her love life and like the people she was with, like how she was mentally processing all of these people. I'm trying to figure out how to word it without giving it away because again, I want you to go read the book. But like her thought processes at the time, like, oh, I just want to do everything to make this person happy, or wow, what the hell am I doing with this person? And she goes into a little bit of detail about her sex life. It's not. I appreciated that it wasn't like hardcore graphic because she doesn't seem like that kind of person. So I don't think it would have. I mean, she outright says she enjoys it. Obviously, who doesn't enjoy it? But she like didn't go into extreme detail about, oh, this is what happened and they bent me over a log and took a caterpillar and put it on my ass or something like that. They didn't She didn't go to any detail like that, thankfully. I don't know what a caterpillar on the ass has to do with anything, but um it it made it entertaining without forcing this like this just heavy sexual scene. Like that is one thing this book has over Amy Schumer's book, I think. She did a much better job of subduing the more adult aspects of the book. And after that part, she goes a little bit into fashion, which I'm not super interested in, but again, just I did like her just describing her life and all these weird relationships that she has with like makeup artists and people on the sets. And like there was this one person, I think she referred to her as Asia, where she had to wear this, what do you call it? Not like a bustier, but a that thing that tightens around the chest. I can't freaking remember it for the life of me. But like the lady would come around and just and just after that, and she'd get a break between scenes, but she made it kind of seem like this girl was kind of happy and to come over here and just cinch that thing up nice and tight for her. And it she throws in quite a bit of humor. It's not like super ha ha ha, oh my god, I'm dying humor, but it gave me a few chuckles listening to it. I didn't really expect her to be like a super funny person. I know she's an entertainer for a living, but she did a pretty good job getting through this book. She throws a little bit of cockiness with a little bit of throwing herself under the bus and stuff like that. I think it's at the end of the book it came out as a pretty good a pretty good mix of the two, and I didn't end up having a negative view either, or super negative or overly positive. I don't know what I'm trying to say there. I didn't have a negative view of it, and like I said, I came out really wanting to know about more about her, and I got home and looked her up on YouTube and did a few of her skits. She did something for BuzzFeed, which was fairly amusing. So if you want to go search Anna Kendrick on that, she talked about how one of the times or like the time she Googled herself and she was like, "Oh, hey, I'm not this other Anna Kendrick who is like the wife of one of the governors of Maine or something like that. I can't remember who it was, some political person, I think. She's no longer the first on the Google search list. I am, and that's kind of amusing to put yourself in that position. But she she goes on about how she thought the fame would change her, but if anything, just kind of kept her the same, and she was kind of disappointed that it didn't change her, which is, I don't know why. I mean, you'd rather stay yourself than be somebody, a fake person like that. But um, yeah. So there's not really a whole lot I can describe about this book without giving a lot of it away because it's so short. Just an easy, if you have 6 hours in a day, you can easily get through it. 2, 3 days, you'll definitely be done with it. But do I want to leave it there? I She does go into a little bit of drug use too. God, my ear itches for no reason. She goes into like a little bit of drug use, but it was also nice to hear that like she wasn't hardcore with it. She like experimented a little bit with marijuana, and I think that's really all she did. I mean, is that even really? It's less and less seemingly considered a drug, I suppose. Um, but yeah, that's not really here or there. It's still fun to hear the stories of like when people first try these things and their reactions, and the people were she was with, their reactions to her doing that, and what she says, and just all that sorts of stuff. So I think that's really all I want to say on it, just because it's so short. I was gonna browse the rest of like the highest voted books on Goodreads. I hate that blue thing in my, like, I get it like right here. You can see my phone and my lens, and I don't know how to avoid that. So I apologize if that's bugging it. I'll try to look down and be ashamed. But um, what was I saying? I was gonna try to get through the other books on Goodreads, but I think, or the ones that were top voted per category. But I think I want to get back into a series, which I haven't decided yet. Do I want to keep going with? I thought about doing. God, I can't remember the person who wrote the Maze Runner series off the top of my head. God, brain non-function. But yeah, I will. I think I'll more than likely get into another series instead of doing these really short books, because I like something that I can do throughout the week, and I have plenty of time. I actually end up listening to. I've probably listened to this book for maybe 10 hours just because, well, I have several more hours in the workday, so I'll just read more of this. So I definitely think it's worth a read. I mean, if you're into like backstories of celebrities and their views on like the life of it, and just going through how hard it is to start off with how fun things more or less are now. This book was published, I think, late 2016, so it's fairly current if you want to pick it up. So I will recommend it. Like I said, it's actually turned me into a fan of Anna Kendrick. So if you would like that, the book title will be in the description, or you can take a look at it on the front and then go to whatever book selling website you want. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This is Takamasak, and I'll see you later.